friends, shalom, and greetings to you all. Welcome to the first full week of the year, a year in which we hope people can see with the appropriate vision that the year promises, 2020. Don't just use hindsight. And in an era where people should be far more accepting and more recognizing that no matter our differences, we are the same. We're all connected. The United Methodist Church isn't so united anymore and have decided to split in two. Now, I'm not sure what the names will be. Maybe let's just go with numbers. UM1, UM2, kind of like royalty, who seem to be having their own issues. Friends, the world needs to come together, as we do, in peace and harmony, because we're all connected. All of us are part of the collective consciousness of a spirit, a giant community worldwide, a chavura, a fellowship, expressing our nature of kindness, compassion, thoughts, feelings, hopes, dreams, and wishes that unites us all in this community house of spirit, Beth Ruach. So once again, please do go ahead and invite everybody, physically, psychically, emotionally, or spiritually, to gather and share. From Psalm 133, the Hine Matov, come together. Hine Matov, Menayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Matov, Menayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. How good, how pleasant it is for brothers and sisters together. Community, community, community. Together. Let's all spread love, goodwill, and fellowship to the world and come together, my friends. Remember, this is your setting aside just a little bit of sacred time in your own sacred space to honor and converse with whoever, whatever you happen to believe in. It's a part of your kavanah, your intention that you put out to the universe. It's part of your goodwill. Let's take this moment to send out light and energy to help heal all those in need of blessings and of God and of healing. So let's send some healing out to whoever you know that needs it. It floats through space, finding those in need. So send it out to whoever, okay? It just finds the people that it needs, okay? And you can think of whoever you know that needs healing and renewal and love or just plain goodwill. Focus on them, call their names. But the goodwill you send out will find the people that needs it. And it's not just for people. It's for our pets. It's for the animals in our lives. It's for the earth. It is the healing of the world. It is the tikkun olam that's part of our spiritual genetic makeup. So let's send thoughts and energy for health and renewal for those in our hearts and our minds, for Ryan and Teresa, for Eli, for Ben and David, for Tally, for Bob, and for Devorah. Friends, it is the kindness, the healing wishes, the goodwill and love that we all send out. It just circles the world, finding those in need. So thank you, each of you, for all you do, for all you care. Because the world is a world of spirit, and spirit, my friends, never dies. May the source of strength bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage. Make our lives a blessing. The renewal of body. The renewal of spirit. Let us say, Amen. Misha Barak, let us all have our spirits renewed. This is the great prayer for healing, which we call upon God to heal as He has healed before. Misha Barak, may He who blessed, let's all send and receive healing and renewal energy in our efforts to love, to share, to care, to all grow. And having just celebrated the Christian New Year a mere week or so ago, we're coming up on another New Year, the Chinese New Year. It's on January 25th this year. Now, that's just 2 weeks away. And its 12-year cycle begins again this year. And it's a 12-year cycle. So look for new beginnings in your life. Now, this is the year of the rat. To the ancient Chinese, rats were seen as a sign of wealth and surplus because of their reproductive skills. Couples prayed to them for children. They can be imaginative, independent, and alert, but they lack courage. They can be selfish, greedy, and stingy. In the Western world, of course, we don't look so favorably on rats. Throughout history, they have brought disease and destruction wherever they've gone. And we refer to people we do not like as rats. And we all know rats in our lives, but also have to take a look and see that maybe that rat's just an angry little mouse that doesn't know how to deal with things. And we'll talk more about the new year as we get closer, but keep in mind that it sets off a cavalcade of New Year events around the world, spiritual New Year events, because it's followed by the Persian Nowruz, which is the Persian and Zoroastrian New Year, which is on March 21st, the spring equinox. Now, that also marks the biblical start of the year, the cosmic beginning, and we'll be celebrating it too. It, of course, highlights the beginning of Nisan, the first month of the year, and the coming festival then of freedom, which is Passover. Now, we've been reading about a very interesting family, and of late there's a lot of talk of divorcing yourself from your family, and sometimes it can be the best thing. We're seeing it with part of the royal family. And I'm still trying to understand the part about them being financially independent and not taking any money from taxpayers. The last I was aware, I hate to jump to conclusions, but none of them work, and all their money comes from taxpayers. Well, as I said, divorcing yourself from your family sometimes is the best thing to do. If it's toxic enough, and you reach a point of no return, and you say you don't need it anymore. Well, Jacob's family was about as toxic as it gets. And we will see if and how Joseph divorces himself from his family, as this week we read, Vayigash, and he approached. Now this, my friends, is actually the very last reading of Genesis. It marks the end of an era. It truly is the end of a line. You can sit around and wait for the phone to ring, the end of the line, waiting for someone to tell you everything, the end of the line. Sit around and wonder what tomorrow will bring, maybe a diamond ring. Well, it's all right, riding around in the breeze. Well, it's all right if you live the life you please. Well, it's all right even if the sun don't shine. Well, it's all right, we're going to the end of the line. And that's what this is. It's the end of the line. This is the last part of Genesis, and it's a very strange one. It's dominated primarily by the bizarre blessings that Jacob imparts to his 12 sons before his death. Then we have his lavish funeral. And then the final nail in the coffin and the closing of the era is the death of Joseph. Genesis 47:29. And Israel's days to die drew close. And he called his son Joseph and said to him, if I've found favor in your eyes, place your hand under my thigh. Now, this is the deathbed request. Okay? Keep that in mind. Place your hand under my thigh and practice kindness and faithfulness with me. Don't bury me in Egypt. Okay, the request to have, Joseph put his hand under his thigh, that's like I said, it's the deathbed request. The one we saw earlier with Abraham and his servant in the very out of order parsha about the marriage of Isaac and then the subsequent remarriage of Abraham. But the thigh and the vow is usually when somebody's dying. So you see, often questionable parts of the Bible present clues much later on that allow you to go back and have those aha moments and realize things. So we can go back and realize that whole parsha was out of order. Now, Jacob dies as he lived. He asks Joseph to bring his two sons to see him. He then claims them as his own. Genesis 48:5. Now, your two sons who were born to you in the land of Egypt, they're mine. Ephraim and Manasseh will be like Reuben and Shimon to me. And your offspring that you'll have after them will be yours. Okay, so Jacob is taking Joseph's two sons as replacements for the two of his sons who he's throwing away. And he says that if Joseph has any more sons, those ones can be his. Then the man who began this entire karmic journey by stealing his brother's blessing purposely does the same thing with Joseph's sons. Genesis 48:14. And Israel put out his right hand and placed it on Ephraim's head. He was the younger. and his left hand on Manasseh's head. He crossed his hands because Manasseh was the firstborn. And Joseph saw that his father had placed his right hand on Ephraim's head, and it was bad in his eyes. And Joseph said to his father, "Not like that, my father, because this is the firstborn. Set your right hand on his head." And his father refused and said, "I know, my son, I know." And he set Ephraim before Manasseh. He crossed his hands. He did this purposely. And this image extended in the exchange with Joseph, in which the old man says he knows what he's doing, is really a kind of summarizing thematic symbol of the book of Genesis. The right hand of the father conferring the blessing reaches across to embrace the head of the younger brother, and the elder, his head covered by the old man's left hand, receives a lesser blessing. We see that from the beginning of this family. He then blesses, and I use the term lightly, all of his sons, except it's far less a blessing and much more of a prophetic poem with predictions for their futures, more negative than positive. But look where his sons learned to be who they were. Now, as the last of the patriarchs breathed his last, yet he was loved by his son Joseph. Genesis 51. And Joseph fell upon his father's face and wept over him and kissed him. And Joseph commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father. Joseph is devastated. He can't take the loss of his father. Would you hold my hand if I saw you in heaven? Would you help me stand if I saw you in heaven? I'll find my way through night and day, 'cause I know I just can't stay here in heaven. Now he's embalmed as royalty, and his body is taken to the cave of the patriarchs for burial, accompanied by the entire house of Pharaoh, such that the Canaanite residents of the land saw the mourning on the threshing floor of Atad and said, "This is a heavy mourning to Egypt." The Canaanites recognized the gravity of the occasion. This was no ordinary burial. This was a state affair. Now, often, death in a family brings the members together. Past hurts and indolence is forgiven. A time to gather, a time to heal. The forgiveness mechanism at work. But these deceptive sons of Jacob, weaned on lies and deceit, think differently. Genesis 50:15. And Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, and they said, if Joseph will despise us, he'll pay us back all the bad that we dealt to him. And they commanded to Joseph, saying, your father had commanded before his death, saying, you shall say this to Joseph, please bear your brother's offense in their sin, because they dealt you bad, and now bear the offense of the servants of your father's God. And Joseph wept when they spoke to him. Well, we never find out whether Joseph or the brothers ever told Jacob what his brothers did to him. But the brothers are actually now claiming that Jacob commanded that Joseph should forgive them. But we don't know whether they're actually making this up or not. But we know one thing. We know that they have always been liars. Just be sure when you say, I love you, it's a sin to tell a lie. Millions of hearts are broken just because these words were spoken. I love you, yes I do, I love you. If you break my heart, I'll die. So be sure it's true when you say I love you. It's a sin to tell a lie. These brothers, they've lied their whole lives. either way, it is the right message. After a parent's death, the children should always try to heal any old wounds and come closer together. Joseph said to them, "Don't be afraid, because am I in God's place? And you thought bad against me? God thought for good. In order to do as it is today, to keep alive a numerous people. And now don't be afraid. I'll provide for you and your infants." And he consoled them, and he spoke on their heart. Wow, the second great example in the Bible of forgiveness. We've seen that each act of deception led to another deception that came as a recompense. Friends, deception and hurts within a family can go on in a perpetual cycle. And I'm sure many of you have either seen it or feel that you live it in your own families. In order to bring it to an end, one member of the family who's entitled to retribution must stop the cycle and forgive instead. That's what Joseph does here. It's a very difficult thing to do, but follow the example of Joseph, just as we saw Esau do the same thing. And the book ends, Genesis 50:26, and Joseph died 110 years old, and they embalmed him and set him in a coffin in Egypt. Yes, the world is sacred, my friends, and so is everything in it. Express your gratitude. Light a candle, make a wish, celebrate your life and the lives of those you love. Share your feelings with them. Live free, be free, honor your freedom, be well, be happy, and be blessed. Share and honor the light and all who live in the light and continue to shine. Continue to send everybody you know goodwill and love. Pray for peace and freedom for everyone, and end to terror and hatred. Remember, we are a community, my friends. We learn together, we celebrate each other, we love each other. We share this right together, men and women equally. So let's send out love, not fear. Send out peace, harmony, goodwill, and healing to all who need it. And we all do need it. And please do learn to forgive. Learn to love, including yourself, maybe especially yourself. Open your hearts and honor all the relationships of your life. Tell those you love that you love them. Take advantage of the time you have. Enjoy the journey. And continue to learn to be, to love. Please love. Now bless you all. Have a fantastic week. A week of love and light. A week of peace. A week of miracles, because they're always around you. And remember, we set in motion all that happens in our lives. Our intention, our Kavanaugh, our cause, our effect. Everything's all linked together. Now, as I've said, you always have time to forgive and to be forgiven. And you have the knowledge of what's good and bad. So acknowledge what you've done wrong to yourself, to God, to any person you've wronged. And ask forgiveness. But do so with sincerity, with accountability and vulnerability. Forgive those who've hurt you as you learn to be forgiving and compassionate. Because the secret of forgiveness, compassion, and peace is in acceptance. Can you accept yourself, other people in the world just as they are? Can you accept life just as it is without trying to control it? If you do, you can experience the peace that acceptance brings. So keep on dreaming, keep on being, keep sharing, keep shining, keep teaching, keep spreading joy and goodwill. Do not follow fear. Follow love. It's always in front of you. And remember to have faith, an unwavering adherence to principle, just as I have faith in the principle of love in all of you. Work to be present in the body. Expand the heart, quiet the mind, because the deepest source of real power, my friends, lies in your consciousness and your ability to be mindful, to be aware, to be present in all of life's circumstances. So share and honor the light and all who live in the light, and continue to shine, and continue to send everybody you know goodwill and love. Pray for peace and freedom for everyone, and end to terror and hatred. Remember, we are a community that learns together. We celebrate each other. We share this ride, all of us together. We take the twists and turns and the patterns that weave through the fabric of our lives, all as a part of our effort to grow, to learn, to be, to love. So please do love. God bless you all. Have a great week of love and light. Examine your intentions and use them to imprint your will on the universe, right? Because we're in control of everything, right? So don't stop your journey. Keep moving towards your promised land and continue to touch and transform the lives around you of everybody, because you're never alone. You're forever blessed and have the ability to bring blessings to everybody you meet. Health, love, renewal to everybody you come across, because we're all energy. And energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transformed. So embrace love, not fear, forgiveness, not anger, and be there for someone, because someone will always be there for you. Right now, you have to always, be willing to forgive, right? Follow the examples we've seen in the Torah. Be authentic to yourself, to your world, to your spirit. Now, next week, when Exodus begins, the book of names, we're going to see that the people Well, they're not in Kansas anymore. Big changes coming. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. The dreams you dream will come true, my friends. Now, thank y'all for joining me, and I look forward to seeing y'all soon. Shabbat shalom and blessings to you all. Take care.